Hey, what's up, everybody? It's the liberal loudmouth. So Donald Trump recently did an interview with Meet the Press, and it went exactly as you probably thought it would go. But let's take a listen to some of the things that he said, and I'm going to use Trump's own words to, disagree with what Trump says in this interview, as per usual. But let's take a listen.
To one of your signature promises on the campaign trail, which was to end inflation, to lower prices. You are now proposing tariffs against the United States' three biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price of tariffs.
I don't believe
Can
it.
you guarantee American families won't pay more?
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow. But I can say that if you look at just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries, but in particular China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and we had no inflation. In fact, when I handed it over, they didn't have inflation for a year and a half. They wanted.
Okay, so you heard him there. He can't guarantee anything when she asked about inflation and whether it was going to cost Americans more, and then he points to his previous tariffs. Now, the problem here is that the tariffs he's talking about now are blanket tariffs on everything. That's different than like a steel tariff, a very specific, targeted tariff, which is a good thing overall. The tariffs, I don't even necessarily disagree with Trump on, as long as they're done correctly. But saying I'm going to tariff everything and get rid of income tax, which is something that he said before.
Did you just float out the idea of getting rid of income taxes and replacing it with tariffs?
Well, okay.
Were you serious about that?
Yeah, sure, but why not?
I'm going to get rid of all the income tax, and we're going to earn our money through tariffs. It just doesn't work that way. I mean, that's ridiculous, and that would end up costing people more money than they currently pay in income tax, but the cost of it would be borne by people like myself, not rich people. Anyway, so there you have it. He says he can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow, which it has a point, I guess, but his answer to this question is a little bit different than what he's been saying over the last 4 years of his campaigning for president. Let's take a listen to some of the things he said before.
Inflation will be in full retreat.
He said inflation will be in full retreat. Now let's listen to this other clip, shall we?
We're going to be a tariff nation. It's not going to be a cost to you. It's going to be a cost to another country. I heard Kamala the other day, Comrade Kamala. She said, oh, if you do that, he's raising your taxes. No. I'm not raising your taxes. I'm raising China. And all of these countries in Asia and all over the world, including the European Union, by the way, which is one of the most egregious.
Okay, so that was Donald Trump on the campaign trail. But here's Donald Trump when asked that specific thing after he becomes president.
Can you guarantee American families won't pay more?
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow.
I mean, you heard it there. Donald Trump can't guarantee anything. He can't guarantee tomorrow. He's going to flap his gums one day and then flap the gums the next way on the next day. You can't really believe much of anything that this guy says because his rules of engagement with people is to attack, blame somebody else, and then to never admit that you did something wrong, which is what he does throughout this entire video. Let me go ahead and play one more thing since I've got a little bit of time here.
Sir, your previous tariffs during your first administration cost Americans some $80 billion. And now you have major companies from Walmart, Black & Decker, AutoZone saying that any tariffs are going to force them to drive up prices for their consumers. How do you make sure that these CEOs, that these companies don't, in fact, pass on the cost of tariffs to their consumers?
They cost Americans nothing. They made a great economy for us. They also solve another problem. If we were going to have problems having to do with wars and having to do with other things, tariffs, I have stopped wars with tariffs by saying, you guys want to fight, it's great, but both of you are going to pay tariffs to the United States at 100%. And they have many purposes, tariffs, if properly used. I don't say you use them like a madman. I say properly used. But it didn't cost this country anything. It made this country money. And we never really got the chance to go all out because we had to fight COVID in the last part. And we did it very successfully. And
there you go. He's going to deny and then blame something else. Here he's blaming COVID, never admit that you were wrong. He's like, you got to do it the right way. Well, I wish he would learn how to do it the right way, because if you are doing blanket tariffs on things, that's not the right way. So something worth pointing out is Donald Trump said that his economy was doing so well because of tariffs. That's not true at all. The economy was doing well before Trump got into office. This was post-2008 crisis, and Obama's economic policies had helped to pull us out of that, and we were on the upswing when Donald Trump took office. So then he puts in those tariffs, like for steel. Steel is a great example of that. I want to show you a graph that shows the maximum number of years that we've been keeping track of, steel production in the U.S. And you just decide for yourself what the reasons for the steel industry, for example, not doing so well even under Trump. I mean, look at this. Back, in the 1970s, when we were building a lot of stuff using, U.S.-made steel, skyscrapers, these were things when Donald Trump was building, buildings and stuff, and they used a lot of steel. I mean, look at this, the drops. You've got drops and peaks here all throughout this time. And then in 1980s, here we go. This is the advent of lighter steel, where you had to use less steel. This started becoming a thing, and it revolutionized the industry. They stopped using blast furnaces, for example, and now they do electric arc furnaces. And the process isn't as, as work intensive as it used to be. So then right here, after the tariffs, you can see nothing really changes. And then this was during COVID. This is a supply and demand issue, y'all. Now, I'm not saying that the tariffs didn't help the U.S. steel industry, because to some degree it did, because they were able to sell more of and export more of their stuff. But the fact of the matter is that the steel industry, while still vibrant and working, and steel is necessary, we have other means of production to build buildings and such without steel. They don't need steel as much as they used to, as evidenced by this graph even. I mean, steel has been pretty much on an even keel with and without tariffs. So Trump's, claims about it are just bogus bullshit. The way he did it the last time was mostly the right way. As a matter of fact, I gave a speech in college at Rogers State University. It was my speech class. And in it, I actually got into like an argument with the professor, because I was talking about the need to bring back some tariffs on some of our manufacturing, so that we would manufacture goods here. You see, the United States used to be the world's largest importer of raw goods and the largest exporter of finished products. And now that's flipped on its head after, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, George Bush, and the rest of these neoliberal pukes that decided we were going to allow corporations to be able to outsource their labor costs to cheap countries. That has reversed. Now we export our raw goods and then import finished products. That's why we have such huge trade deficits. That's why the tariffs aren't necessarily a bad idea, because they're protectionist policies against another nation dumping cheap stuff on the market. But like in the case of China, if he puts a tariff on China, for example, China will just send products to another country and ship them to the United States from that other country. This is another thing that you have to watch out for, and it's very, very difficult to combat. And that may be why he's trying to do blanket tariffs, but he's wrong. It will absolutely cost the American consumer more money. That's why he said, I can't guarantee you anything, because he doesn't want it to come back and bite him in the ass later, and it will, because that will absolutely cost the American consumer more money. And I think he and the corporations would love for you to bear the brunt of all of the revenue of the country, where, even though you're working 40 hours a week and you're struggling, you can't even afford to pay your copays or deductibles, or if you get a flat tire, you're screwed. They would love for you to be the one to pay that by increasing the cost of your goods by 25, 40% or whatever, and then they'll pay no income tax whatsoever, because they will move that cost onto you, the consumer, and then you'll be paying for everything, because all the goods that you purchase will have had this tariff based on what he has said over the last year or so about tariffs. But again, tariffs in general aren't a terrible idea. They do protect your manufacturing base. That's why our manufacturing base left, is because they allowed these trade agreements to screw over the United States. But this is the cost of neoliberal bullshit, where corporations are allowed to go get cheap labor in another country and then send those goods back here. It screws the American people over because those good paying jobs end up going away. Granted, a lot of those jobs are now going away anyway due to robotics, so it's kind of too late, and it may not even matter where they build these manufacturing plants these days, because most of it's going to be run by robots. I mean, in China, they had a manufacturing plant where they fired 90% of their workforce and kept 10% of it just to keep those machines running. So, we'll see what happens. But, Donald Trump doesn't even agree with Donald Trump anymore. He just says what he thinks people want to hear. He's going to go in there and he's going to do what he wants to do that brings him and his brand more money. That's what he cares about. And that's what you're going to see over the next 4 years. Hopefully, he's too worried about getting stuff for himself, and he doesn't screw over the American people by turning us into, Nazi Germany or an authoritarian dictatorship. Hopefully that's true. This kleptocracy where all of these people in his cabinet, these billionaires that he's put in there, where all they want is just more money for themselves. I mean, that's not a good thing, but it's better than taking over the nation and turning a democracy into an authoritarian dictatorship. I'd much rather see them steal things than take over the country. I don't know. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section, and be on the lookout for the next video. I'm going to do more of his responses to the questions in this interview. All right, that's it for now, guys. This is the Liberal Loudmouth, and we'll catch you in the next video. Peace.